Hey everybody, Navster here. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my Zpacks Arc Haul and specifically the durability and maintenance related to the pack that I've had over the past year or so. Prior to having the Arc Haul, I had an Arc'teryx backpack. It's either a Tora or a Bora 65, I think Bora 65, and it weighed almost 6 pounds, by itself empty. So when I got the lovely orange Arc Haul from Zpacks, of course I wasn't used to ultralight gear. The straps on my Arc'teryx were probably an inch or an inch and a quarter wide. The straps on an Arc Haul are much thinner. So I had some concerns. I didn't know how long it would hold up. Of course, on the Zpacks website it says it'll hold up for a year. I think it says a year. I think it also says at least through one long distance through hike. So I went for it and carried it for the entire Appalachian Trail in 2018. So there was a couple of times on the trail where I started noticing some things kind of breaking down or not working as I expected them to. Two in particular. One is, you can see here it has these external rods going on either side, and this is where, when you put tension on those rods and bend them, that's how you get that arc that is their, signature feature on their packs. So for some reason, this rod over here, when I was on the trail, it had a tendency to arc to the outside instead of toward the front of the pack like that. So it's annoying. Caused the pack to ride a little bit different than normal. I started to wear down here a little bit on this mesh. So that was one thing that kind of happened on the trail. Another thing also is that down here on where the tension strap and this mesh connects to the pack, because of how you set the pack down on the ground repeatedly, that strap was wearing to the point where it was frayed and almost frayed all the way through, and this was happening on both sides of the pack. So while I was hiking, I sent an email to Zpacks, and within a day I got a response back. I know a lot of folks complained that Zpacks doesn't have a phone number and so on. They're a cottage company. I'm okay with that. They run their business the way they run their business, and they're pretty successful at it. So they replied within a day to my email. I mentioned the issues that I was having, and they were extremely helpful. They actually included Joe Valesco on the email thread so that he could respond on some very, since he's responsible for a lot of the design of their products and so on, they wanted him to include some of his thoughts. We went back and forth several times, Joe and I, via email, and he suggested some items, and I tried those. Ultimately, the pack made it through the AT. Great. Other than that, I had no issues with it. It held all my gear comfortably, kept it secured and organized well. When I returned, I sent an email to Zpacks. They sent me an RMA. I got that RMA pretty much the same day or the next day. I shipped in the backpack. Of course, you got to get it good and clean before you ship it in, which makes sense. They don't want to receive any good smelly packs. When they receive the pack, they do a review of what they found. And so I got an email back from Zpacks, and they listed all of the things that they found that were, needed repair or at least needed some investigation. While I was only asking about the rod and the torn straps at the bottom, they actually listed 4 or 5 things. So that was good news to me. It took them about 2 weeks to repair those items. They then sent me an email back that the pack was shipping back to me. All of this was free of charge, of course. So their repair labor on the pack was free. The shipping back to me was free. I did have to pay for the shipping to them when I sent it to them for repair. So you can see some of the things that they repaired. They actually replaced both of the rods. So both rods are brand new. This horizontal stay here is also completely brand new. This netting, it had worn because of it being a little sideways. It had worn right here, it had torn where it was rubbing up against my back. So this netting and the straps that hold it are completely new. Where these straps connect to the bottom of the pack, in later versions, Zpacks has learned, and they've moved these strap attachment points higher up on the pack. That way they're not so far down on the ground when you're setting the pack back down, the backpack down. So they moved those up, resewed them on both sides. So that was completely done. They also, on my hip belt in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, in 4 different places, they patched and sewed in a patch to cover up places where the hip belt had worn, and that is just normal wear and tear, right? It was whether it was wearing on another part of the pack or wearing on the ground when I sit down and so on. So they actually physically patched 4 spots on the belt that had worn through. So that was much appreciated. So one additional item that they did that was also not asked for was the front mesh pocket. You can see up here, it was torn just slightly. It was not, in my mind, a defect in workmanship. This is just something that happened along the way where this mesh tore, but you can see they resewed this so they wouldn't continue to tear it further. So overall, I was completely pleased with the pack's performance while on the AT. It didn't break down or have issues any more than I would expect a pack to after using it for every day for 172 days. It did fine. The Zpacks service, while I agree it would be great to, have a new pack show up at a post office or at some hostel down the trail, for a cottage company, I think that's a little more than you might expect. So they responded on time. They responded with lots of great information and gave me options along the way, along the trail. And when I did return it for maintenance, they were extremely helpful in fixing what I was asking for and 2 or 3 additional items. So I'm pleased enough with this pack that I plan to use it on the PCT in 2018, which I'll start in the spring. I've got a playlist that I've set up on this channel. Please check the links in the comments below. Subscribe to those so that you can find out more information about my PCT gear. And I'm going to do a follow-up on this pack later on after I get some additional miles on it on the PCT. There's no reason in my mind that it won't work just as well out there. So if you'd like to see more information like this, just please subscribe and hit the little reminder button so that you get notifications when I produce new videos. And I'll see you out there on the trail. Thanks. Later.